Hi folks, Dave, the Honest Audiophile. This is the Fearless Audio Barcelona, and these are my honest audiophile impressions. I want to thank Linsoul for providing the Barcelona for review. Do greatly appreciate it. Linsoul, you rock. Alright, so the Barcelona comes in this pretty standard Fearless Audio box. Take off the sleeve, you're going to get a black box that's inside. It contains a carrying case, some accessories, and the IEM. So carrying case looks like this, a little flap, and then on the inside you're going to get some you can get a cleaning tool, a cable strap, and some silicone tips. And the silicone tips are pretty much the same standard ones that come with all Fearless Audio, and they're wide bore, somewhat olive shaped, similar to JVC spiral dots, something along those lines. I did use the stock tips during the review process. You're also going to get your IEMs, and here are the Barcelona. And they're very, very cool looking. Got sparkles, and you get a very nice cable. This is a OFC silver plated cable. On the left, you have a little, it's really hard to see, but you have a Fearless Audio logo. And then on the right, down at the bottom, it says Fearless Audio. Or so, Fearless, excuse me, it doesn't say audio. Cable. It's got nice ear hooks. They're a little bit stiffer than I would like, but they're responsive and they hold things together. Barcelonas are not going to be taken out of your ears very easily. So they're in there nice and snug, and the ear hooks are well controlled. Cable is a little bit on the thick side, but it's nice and lightweight. And then you have a chunky connector with a 3.5. The Barcelona is 24 ohms of impedance. It's 110 decibels of sensitivity. 15 hertz to 20 kilohertz is its frequency response. And Fearless claims that it has 26 dB of passive noise reduction. And I would tend to agree with that because of the build of the Barcelona. So as you can tell, it has a wing on it, and it also has a pretty aggressive nozzle and angle. Take the tip off here, you can see it a little bit better. I also like the coloring on it. You can see the driver in there. Speaking of the drivers, it does have a dynamic driver and a Sonian BA. But as you can see, that shell design is pretty aggressive. And so speaking of the noise reduction, when you put them in your ears, they really, really go in. And they just snug in place. That wing holds them in place. And all of a sudden it sounds like you're shouting when you're trying to talk to somebody. And they block out a lot of outside noise. I would say it's around 75 to 80% of the outside noises that I encountered were muffled or dampened or just completely gone. So they do a really good job in that. And if you are in somewhat of noisier offices or do a lot of walking around town, things like that, these might be an option for you. I did not use any public transit, so I do not know how they would work in that way. But overall, I really do like the build of them. I like the design of them. Comfort-wise was okay. It was about an hour and a half to 2 hours before I started getting ear fatigue. Even with that wingtip, it didn't really bother me as bad as some, but it was still a little bit uncomfortable. But once I got used to it, it was okay. So an hour and a half to 2 hours, and then I would have to take a little bit of a break, and I could put them back in. As I said, I did use the stock tips, so the sound, what's the word I'm looking for? The sound descriptions, there we go, will be based off of using the stock tips. And as you can see, I use the red cylinder tip. All right, how do they sound? They are bassy, and when I say bassy, I mean bassy prominent. These would be classified as a bass head IEM. It is a very dominant bass. but it's a well-controlled bass. It does a good job as far as staying controlled. It doesn't get all bloated and bleed into everywhere else. And it also doesn't distort and just, totally screw the pooch, so to say, when bass comes on strong in a track. It has good tonality to it. It's not the most accurate tone and timbre, but it's not offensive either. It is doable, especially for the price tag. And then I find that it is a very well detailed, and it has good clarity, and it's just a fun and enjoyable bass with very good impact, nice authority, very good note weight. And the bass is just dominant in the mix. It is a very bass first IEM. The mids are slightly recessed, but they're not like going into a cave or into a tunnel or anything like that. They are still, noticeable and present, but they do take a backseat to the bass, and they have a nice tone to them. Again, like the bass, it's not the most accurate in tone and timbre, but it's not offensive or just terribly off-putting. They have a nice tone to them. It has a slight warmth in the mids, have good amount of note weight, and they have a nice fullness to them, even though they are slightly behind the bass, but they do lack a little bit of air and a little bit of clarity. I wish that they had a little bit more separation. Sometimes on busier tracks, they can become a little bit muddled, a little bit confused. And going into the treble is about 8K, and then it just rolls off. It is a dark leaning IEM. In fact, more like it is a dark IEM. There's not a whole lot of light in the treble. They are, if you are sensitive to treble, these might be for you. I do wish that they had more air. I do wish that they had more energy and sparkle in the treble, and the extension could definitely be better in the treble. It's not lacking in details. It's not lacking in that regard. It's just a very dark sounding IEM, and it just lacks a little bit of energy, and at times it can sound too laid back and a little bit muffled, a little veiled, so to speak, and I just wish it had more energy and sparkle. Soundstage wise is borderline average. It's not the widest IEM out there, and it does struggle to present accuracy in the stage width. You really can't dissect a stage and determine the size of it. It's kind of like everything sounds the same. Doesn't do real good with depth and layering. As I said, on busier tracks, it can get a little confused, and it just lacks separation, and it lacks space and air between instruments and vocalists. Detail retrieval and resolution is okay for the price point. It's not anything spectacular. It's not going to blow your pants off or explode your head at the amount that it's giving you, but it's also not going to be super disappointing. It's just kind of like, yeah, okay. And then tone and timbre, as I said, it's not the most natural, but also at the same time, it's not like off-putting either. So overall, I find that the Barcelona is an okay IEM. Very much bass focused, and then it just doesn't really do anything else to set itself apart, and it just kind of is it's all right. If you like bass and you're looking for a very laid back, chill, relaxed sound, then maybe the Barcelona would be for you. But there is another IEM that I would classify more in a bass prominent setting, and I would recommend the Tri-Meteors over the Barcelona. And the reason being is the bass isn't quite as prominent, and the mids are a little bit more separated, have a little bit more energy, and the treble definitely has a little bit more energy. And even though it's still a very laid back and chill type of sound, it's just more cohesive and more balanced sounding, has a better soundstage, and it does a slightly better job with tone and timbre being more accurate, and also does a better job with detail retrieval and resolution. I find that the Tri-Meteors are the better pick around the same price point than the Fearless Audio Barcelona. I just find that the Barcelona just is kind of meh, whereas the Tri-Meteor is a little bit more, adds a little bit extra to it. Besides just being a bassy IEM, it does have a little bit of that extra sauce. It's been Dave, the Honest Audiophile. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video. Speaking of next videos, somewhere on the screen, subscription links, notification bells. If you haven't already, please check those off. And then don't forget to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down to the video. And also, check out the links down below. There's all kinds of information down there, gear recs, music, all kinds of things. So check out the links. And also, there's ways of how you can connect with the channel, follow the channel, support the channel, all kinds of other things down there. So check out the links. And don't forget to enjoy the music, and honesty is the best policy.